welcome back. The topic for today is losing a job. And you might think this is a difficult topic, but like most things I've found in my life, yes, it was difficult, but it also had some good outcomes. First of all, I was now in the new millennium, and definitely women were doing better. They were gaining more higher level jobs, but obviously they still had a long ways to go. And during this period, I realized that I felt much stronger about my skills and my abilities. And I wondered why this was. I don't think I had changed, that much my abilities, but I think because I had so much contact with high level male executives, both in the United States as well as internationally, and as I studied them, I realized how many of them were lacking in what I would call necessary skills and abilities. And I think that gave me more confidence. And maybe it was also because, women have a harder time making it to higher levels. We have to fight our way. So maybe that makes us stronger and also gives us, more broad abilities. Whatever the reason, I felt pretty confident about my skills at this time. Excuse me. And one time, an executive called me into his office and said, I have trouble handling strong women like you. And he said, I realize this is a weakness of mine and I'd like to get better. Would you be willing to help me? And I was, really surprised and shocked, but I thought it was a really good thing for him to do. And I said, of course I will. Okay. I was also being given jobs that were top jobs, not necessarily the title, but very important jobs. Um, One was working with United Airlines and a lot of the international airlines that had formed an alliance called the Star Alliance to help the traveling public have a more um, transparent experience from airline to airline. And my job was to working with and trying to integrate the technology. And then I was asked to interview to be CIO, Chief Information Officer for the Star Alliance. And I did interview, and honestly, I thought I was a shoo-in for the job until I was told that I had to reside in Frankfurt, Germany. And that was something that I just didn't want to do. I was still kind of recovering, from my husband's death. I had my two dogs, and I wanted to live in the United States. So I dropped out. And then I was given an assignment to develop goals and strategies at the highest level for United Airlines. So that meant working with the top 4 or 5 executives to come up with these goals. And I did so. It required a lot of negotiation because sometimes I would recommend something and they didn't want to buy in. But then I got buy-in and I went to the CEO and gave him the recommendations, which he pretty much accepted. And then 9/11 happened. And obviously, for terrible outcomes, for the airlines. So I was put in charge of putting together a group of people to work with the FBI and the CIA to integrate data from all of these different organizations. And like as an example, specifically, one of the tasks was to develop no-fly lists because at the time nobody knew if there were going to be more incidents or really what was going to happen. So that was really a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job, and obviously I had to install leads to help me with that job. And then several months later, I was informed that my entire organization was being dissolved, done away with. And I was shocked. Not that a lot of employees would be let go or furloughed, but that honestly, that it was me and my organization. But when I thought about it, my organization was not a critical operational function for the airline. Selling technologies is absolutely not critical. And I would encourage women to think about that, what kind of jobs they work in, operational, manufacturing, developing products. Those are pretty critical functions. Whereas accounting, that's pretty critical. But human resources, those are things that are softer skills that at least are not viewed as being as important for a company. So, anyway, I was pretty devastated. And I was given a contract, the contents of which I was asked not to talk about, so I won't. But I still felt very upset, very depressed about the whole thing. And another fact is that myself and one other woman in my division were the two highest people let go. So basically, that left only men at the top levels in that division. So that was something else that I know people talked about. Uh, anyway, about a couple months later, after United ended up filing bankruptcy, and maybe it was, maybe a lot longer than that, maybe a year later, United filed bankruptcy. And then I was asked to join a group of ex executives to negotiate with United Airlines in bankruptcy. So this was a legal firm I was asked to join, and I did. I had to spend just a small amount of money and, thought it was worthwhile. And then one day I got a letter in the mail, and the contents of that letter, I think, helped change my life. And wasn't really the contents. I shouldn't say contents. It was the addressees in the letter. I counted the number of addressees. There were 25, and I was the only woman. And all of a sudden, I sat back and said, as bad as things are, as disappointed as I am, I do have something. Did make it to a pretty high level. And all of a sudden, I went into a state of gratitude. And in my thinking, gratitude can cure almost all ills and problems. Once you decide that no matter what your situation is and what you have, you're going to be okay and you're going to be happy. It changes everything. And grant you, I had, much more than many, many people. But it was really important for me to move into gratitude instead of staying in anger. So I ended up receiving a pretty good pension for a year, a little more than a year. And then all of a sudden, that was cut by 70%. So I lost my husband's pension, and now my pension was cut by 70%. So it just gave me another opportunity to really focus on gratitude. At the time, I just enjoyed being in nature, playing with my two puppies, and it just really changed my life and my outlook on life. Now I'd like to get into the 3 questions for this video. Question 1. Do you think a higher percentage of women are fired than men? And by the way, there have been studies done on this. Question 2. Do you think the EEOC, that's the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, that their laws have been effective in protecting women's rights? And question 3, if you were fired or your position was eliminated in some way that you believe was unfair, would you sign a contract releasing the company from all wrongdoing, or would you attempt to take legal action against the company? And of course, this question depends on your situation and what's going on in your life. If you feel, secure and financially secure and you can find another job quickly, that's one thing. If you don't feel financially secure and you have a family to support, then that's a whole different situation. Another thing, I don't want anyone to dwell on this question too long. It's just that I was so in a state of shock when it happened to me, and I couldn't think straight. I didn't know what to do. So I think spending a small amount of time thinking about, given different situations and scenarios, what you might do would help prepare you to handle losing a job. With that, we're going to talk about the next video is going to be becoming a CEO. And like so many things in my life and many others, you know, something that seems like a tragedy, losing my job, you know, ends up being a really good thing in the long run, which just goes to prove you never know what's going to happen or what the universe has in store for you. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time.